And welcome back. Today we are going to be flying out the F-16 MLU, and the MLU is going to be the best F-16 that you can find for Araby, at least currently. You get a lot more countermeasures, which are definitely helpful in the longer games, and you are going to be needing it because the Chinese teams right now, they are beyond trash, and you are going to be losing a hell of a lot. I've been getting 2 to 3 kills every match, and I'm still rocking a 33% win rate. But I saw bad teams and I saw an opportunity to try and get some carry footage, because that's always something that people like to see. Winning from a tough spot is always the best way, in my opinion, to showcase a plane's strength. Especially with a plane like this. I covered the fact that the American one kind of flies like an F-104. And for the most of the game it will fly like an F-104. But again, I did kind of mention that at lower speed it's pretty damn strong. Today we are actually going to be showcasing you that. But before we get into all of that, thank you to all my Patreons and my YouTube members, as well as everyone looking to get this decal right here that you can find on my tail as well as on the screen. You can do it by using the discount code down below. I get a cut, you get a decal as well as a discount. Everybody wins. If you're wondering why I sound like absolute garbage, it's because I got the Rona again. So I'm not too sick, it's nothing to worry about. It's just that if you wonder why I sound a bit stuffy, well, that is exactly why. So, how are we gonna go about this match? Well, the issue is that I know from the start that my team is gonna be kind of struggling. I tried to come in from above, I tried to pick off other people as they were busy killing others. Trying to get people as they're not paying attention, so you can get some free kills in basically. That's what you want to happen. You need to dwindle the numbers down, because in general 1v2, 1v3 is not a situation you want to be in at top tier. Not in any tier, but in top tier especially, it's extremely difficult to actually overcome those odds. Normally I would have gone for the pack below me. The issue is I know there is an F-16 in the clouds here, and I know that he's going to be hella annoying. I also know that I should be able to get a very easy kill here, and that's exactly what we do. He doesn't see the missile, he knows he's being locked, but he doesn't know how close I am, which gives me the opportunity to kind of swoop in from the heavens and absolutely obliterate the guy. So that's an F-16 gone. The canard kills a guy, which is kind of surprising. And now I just want to look at who to engage. There is still quite a few people alive, and that's the beauty of this vehicle. I dove in, I climb away, and we are back at 5 kilometers. You do want to be somewhat careful with this, because by climbing so much you do become a little bit more susceptible to missiles. But as you see, we reach 5 kilometers and we're still going Mach 1. The thrust on this thing is absolutely ridiculous. So the way you want to play this is lure people into slower fights, where you can actually start using the strengths of your plane, other than of course the radar and the missile set. The gun is also okay, you only have 500 rounds, but when the F-14s are going 300 kilometers an hour, it's pretty easy to hit. So the real way to play this is by air braking a hell of a lot. It's kind of counterintuitive, because in this thing you actually want to slow down, because the energy retention as well as the acceleration is so ridiculous that you find yourself going too quick to really do anything most of the time. And that's why I compared it to something like an F-104, because if you slow down at the inopportune time, you are simply going to get railed. And if you do that at the right time, you will bully basically everyone that you lure into your trap. So right now we have a MiG-23 ML as well as an MLD on our 6. And the ML is instantly a weak link to me, because he's very likely a new premium player that has no idea what he's doing. So I'm not really too worried about the ML, I'm gonna be focusing on the MLD. So I slow down, I reverse them, and then I start throttling up. I notice that the ML goes into a flat spin, and I think, well, how convenient, I'm gonna go vertical after the MLD. And I'm gonna lock him up with IR, because I can clearly see his afterburner with the naked eye, so the IR secret suit as well. But War Thunder, if there is any cloud, then you're not going to get a lock. MiG-29 is starting to come in. I lost the other ML and I didn't see him crash, so he probably recovered, but I have no idea where he is. There he is, he's directly behind us, and the MLD right now is right on top of us, probably diving on us, and he is gonna be faster than us as well, which is gonna put us in a little bit of a difficult position. But as you can see, we are still faster than them. The MiG-29 right now, as well as the other guy, are chasing a teammate. So we should have a little bit of time here to 2v1 these guys. I want to make sure that I'm not too hot, but I also want to make sure that I'm slow enough to dogfight these guys. We now start losing a lot of speed, so I throttle back up. Try to get a shot in, miss my shot, which is kind of unfortunate. But we just point the nose away again, we throttle up. And the acceleration of this thing is absolutely wild. And as you can see, the other MiG-23 is still quite far away. And we're back up to Mach 0.8, which is pretty good. We turn into the missile, we cut the afterburner. We dodge this guy's water pistol. And we just go straight up vertical. Once you start reaching like 700 to 800, this thing becomes an absolute menace. But you do want to be careful that you don't actually lock yourself out. With the G-lock, because your pilot can't handle the G-forces that you are pulling. This thing is G-limited with the fly-by-wire system, and it makes it kind of shitty at higher speeds. The thing is, at these speeds, your G-limit doesn't really matter because you're going too slow to reach 9 Gs. So you can basically do this all day long. We still have 4 missiles left, 10 minutes of fuel, and there is 4 enemies left. So at this point, I think I can try and do something. But when I look behind me here, I have to disengage. There are still 2 MLs on my 6, an ML and an MLD, as well as a MiG-29, as well as an F-14. So I'm not really liking my odds at this point, and I'm already betting on another L for my stat card. But we are not going to go out without a fight. We're not going to be running towards the airfield or whatever. Well, it doesn't work anyway at the moment, so it doesn't really matter regardless. The MiG-29 is hella fast and it accelerates really well. And he's going to be catching us off guard first. Then the F-14 comes in, and that's the guy I'm kind of scared of the most. The issue is that everyone is spaced out, so I try to pitch in for the head-on for the ML. I shoot the missile a little bit too low and it can't curve in because the missile is too slow and it doesn't have the lift to pull into that head-on. Then the MiG-29 comes back in and I have to take this. So I'm gonna do exactly that. We shoot it a little bit higher this time. And it connects him just before he kills us. If I had shot that missile a second later, I would have been dead and this game would have been lost. MiG-23 is still on our 6. We're gonna do the exact same thing. We shoot it, but it's the left pylon and I'm rolled over to the left side. So we miss another AIM-9L. And I know that this guy basically doesn't have flares left, which is why he probably isn't flaring in the head-ons. And I missed 2 very easy shots on him, which is very unlucky. It's also a bit of a skill issue. But I noticed that the F-14 is trying to disengage quite hard, which is weird considering it's a 2v1. So I'm going to be focusing him right now, because I'm not too worried about 2 MiG-23s in the long run. But I am worried about an F-14 together with something else in the long run. So I'm just going to be running this guy down. He doesn't really have the ability to get away from us. He can't really afterburn. He's probably out of fuel. So we just line up a shot. We just completely disintegrate his plane. And we disengage and re-engage on the MiG-23. One of the MiG-23s is killing ground units. He probably thought that I was dead because there's 3 guys on me. And he does the smart thing and actually goes for ground units, so he actually gets something out of this match. In the end, that's actually what bit him in the ass. We shoot an AIM-9L at this guy. He dodges it without flares. Unlucky. But now we are on 3 minutes of fuel. They have 2 MiG-23s left and they are both going to be RTB. The problem here is that they are much closer to their airfield, so I'm kind of at a risk to getting shot down as I'm taking off. Luckily, that's not the case. I noticed 2 guys behind me, and I'm gonna go for the guy that's flying over us. But the missile isn't really tracking, and then I noticed that the name from the guy on the bottom was the guy flying the MLD. And I think that the MLD is more dangerous because it turns a bit tighter. Of course, the MLA rates better, but that doesn't really matter in this regard, because the F-16 outdoes it anyway. So I'm now only have to deal with an MLA basically. We go vertical, we try to slow down a little bit. The issue is we are at very high altitude and the turning circle that we have becomes very wide. And he had a lot of energy coming in because he was above us. He had been going quite fast and we had to slow down as well as re-guide our shots. So right now I'm in a pretty shitty position. We're only going 300 IAS and I can probably chase him up here, but I'm not going to do it because if he stalls himself out and pushes the head on, then I'm at a major disadvantage. So for right now, I'm actually just going to disengage. I'm just going to fly away from him. And then we will re-engage him once he decides to do so. I'm not too worried about him. The thing is just that I'm not going to throw away the game this late in, considering it's only a 1v1. So, what do? Well, we do the exact same thing we have been doing the entirety of this match. I'm going to start going defensive. I'm going to turn into him, try to notch his radar as well as dump some chaff, because I don't know what radar mode he's using, and we still have a lot of countermeasures to use on only 1 plane, which is great. So I'm just trying to stay 90 degrees on him, just deny any lock he can get on us, and I'm trying to not go too fast. That's why I'm not afterburning. We still have 16 minutes of fuel, which is a decent amount, but it should be low enough to actually start dogfighting this dude. So we go up over his nose, he's not able to pull into us, and we air brake a little bit to slow down, get some position. And at this lower altitude I feel a little bit more comfortable trying to pull into this guy. He then also takes a very horrible line, and all we have to do now is simply stamp on the elevator, and eventually we are gonna be getting the shot. He's directly ahead of us. We hold down the trigger and we set him on fire. He burns up, and that is going to be GG. Here's the rewards if you care about such a thing, and we are gonna go straight into the next match. And this one is a little bit less interesting, but it still shows what you can and can't do against planes like a Harrier. And the Harrier GR7 is actually a plane that flies very similarly to what we are like. So we shoot on the Su-22. I mean, there's really nothing he's going to be doing if he doesn't see it. And he doesn't. He collects the missile. And we just continue to fly straight into the middle of the map. Because again, these teams are pretty damn bad and you need to be there to contest early games so that your team doesn't just disintegrate. Sometimes you're not able to do so because sometimes your team manages to implode within 2 seconds. And there's really just nothing you can do. You have to take a bit of a gamble. You just have to kind of say, okay, I think I have to go in now. Sometimes you're going to instantly die. And other times, just like the last game, you're going to end up winning it. Winning these teams, however, is pretty difficult. I'm not gonna bash on anyone losing a lot in these games, but you know, you just have to do with what you are given. You can't really do more than that. F-14 coming in. He's not going for us just yet, but he pulls in for the head-on. I shoot a little bit. I instantly break off because I don't want any of that Vulcan. So I simply break off and I reassess the situation. This time, however, my team actually did something. And my team isn't completely gone. So I still have a little bit of breathing room here to use my teammate. Not so much as bait, but as distractions, and they can also use me as distractions. Because the worst thing about top tier is when everyone only looks at you. They're literally and figuratively locked onto you. And then you can't really do much. Of course, if you have good missiles, you can. Just like right here, aim 7M at like 1.5 kilometers. That should pull in, but he somehow chaffs it. And the missile goes dud and doesn't hit its mark. We then lock onto the MiG-29, we shoot the missile off. That's gonna go straight vertical. It doesn't track because he flares it properly. And we just continue on, because I don't want to start dogfighting a MiG-29 with the Harrier right next to us. We're just gonna run away from the Harrier for now. He's out of range, he can't missile us from there. And there's also a MiG-29 on our 6. So what do? Well, I want to go for the F-16 directly ahead of us. The thing is, he goes RTB. I do want to be careful that he's not faking going RTB. My teammate goes head on with a MiG-29. He gets missiled out of the air. And now it's basically 2v1 right now. There is still a guy on the runway and he's not completely dead. But looking at it realistically, he's going to be doing nothing until he has repaired. I try to lock on the MiG-29, but I lock on an AI. So I go for guns. I set him on fire and he is instantly out of the game, which is very crucial here because now I can actually focus on the Harrier. This time it's a little bit of a longer range shot. I have more time to line up the missile, but it simply doesn't track. The thing is, I'm going very slow and I'm kind of forced to take this dogfight right here. So I'm going to try to slow down even more, cut inside of his flight path, and we just stay above his nose. He doesn't actually manage to hit us. And we are now directly behind him. We reverse the turn. I keep my throttle very low. I try to get a shot in, and I just don't have enough authority to pull my nose on more. And he gets away with it. I try to push him vertical or like into a turn, and then we simply disengage into the direction that he needs to turn into the longest. And by the time he gets his nose on target, we are already going about 750, 800 kilometers an hour, and he's going very slow. So we should have the ability to just outrun his missiles here. We still have 27 flares, which is about 14 pops, which is more than sufficient right here. And the Harrier, look at this, his acceleration is nuts. We all know that the Harrier has a good acceleration, but at these medium to high speed, it is absolutely nothing compared to this thing. So what do we want to do? We try to keep him at somewhat of a higher speed, because the Harrier has bad retention and not the greatest acceleration at higher speed. So right now I'm just gonna build up a massive energy advantage by simply making him maneuver a lot. He then decides to break off. He's probably baiting me into turning back in. And it kind of works, but I'm just trying to get this guy to go up for us. If he does that, I got him energy trap, and I can just run trains on him all day long. I'm trying to fake this guy into pulling up for us, but he doesn't do it, and I know that he's probably going to try to reverse us, which is kind of what you have to do in a Harrier versus a guy that actually keeps its speed. And he waits a little bit too long. We get directly above and behind him, so now we just cut our throttle, we prematurely air brake, and it's going to make it so that I just get on this guy 6, and if he reverses his turn to try and reverse us, well, guess what? You're gonna fly directly into my gun sight. He goes down, a little bit of a mind game, but I also have a lot of options, so it doesn't really matter too much, because I can kind of do whatever I want, as long as I don't get into a very low speed dogfight with him, like we did the first time. But even then, if he misses his shot, you can just disengage and run away from him, so it's really not that big of a deal. So now, I'm getting locked, and I start to notch, and for people that aren't aware what this is, it's when you go 90 degrees onto his plane. So it's basically putting my wingtip or my RWR on the 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock mark. Right now he is directly on our left. We see him right there, and we're not just gonna notch, we're gonna chaff as well, and then use a little bit of terrain just to be sure. We go very low, the missile goes into the ground, and now we're gonna maintain the notch by simply staying in front of him, not pulling fully, And you can tell that I'm not trying to be as fast as I can. I'm trying to slow down a little bit to pull into this guy's turn. The issue is that he doesn't take it and he tries to run away, which is actually a very bad idea. Because I'm probably lower on fuel. I only have 10 minutes. He just took off. He still has a full missile loadout, other than the one AIM-7 that he shot off. So the chances of him actually getting away from us now are slim to none. We have the same top speed, but I have less missiles on, so I will catch him. The thing is, he is very busy trying to run towards his airfield. And to everyone saying that the AIM-9Ls are impervious to flares, what is this then? People that were saying that the AIM-9Ls were as immune to flares as the second iteration R-73s. I don't know what you were smoking, but I want to have some of it. But now I lost all my missiles. And I'm a lot lighter because I have less fuel as well. So I will just reel this guy in very handily. And he's trying to run to the airfield. And people say that airfield AA is very important and it needs to work all the time. I think that's bullshit. I do think it's okay if you need to land, repair, rearm, or whatever you need. That's okay. And you shouldn't be strafed. The thing is, one, it's your fault for running out of ammo, fuel, or getting damaged. And secondly, this guy is none of those. He still has missiles, he still has cannon rounds, he still has fuel. And what does he do? He just tries to delay by cancel rolling so that I get shot down by the game so that he doesn't have to play it himself. I think that's complete bullshit. Luckily, the SAMs didn't work and I just get a very easy time shooting this guy down. Thank you all for watching and I'll see you all in the next one.